You're watching Oilers Nation every day with Tyler Yaremchuk. Your one-stop shop for all things Oilers.
Nuge! Let's get into it with the lead. Those hats actually don't fall very soft. If you're listening on podcast only, I had our intern Reese dump a bunch of hats on me for that edition of the lead. Got doinked by a couple brims, but anyways, welcome into Oilers Nation every day. Live from the Sports Closet studio. Check them out online at sportscloset.ca. If last year was any indication, if you want to get geared up for the playoffs, I think you're best jumping in probably right about now, because last year things were flying off the shelves. Check them out online for their full inventory of Edmonton gear. The show is a presentation of Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. One sec, gotta take a sip of water.
He's riding solo today.
Yeah, no Liam today. Liam's in Las Vegas a week before our company trip to Las Vegas, which he's obviously not coming on. But, you know, questionable decision-making, I think, would be something I would throw Liam's way if he was here. But he's not, so that's okay. Louie DeBrusk is still going to swing by, though. I think we might do that a couple of times today. Just, like, cut to Liam. Maybe, like, halfway through the Louie interview, I'll be like, Liam, you got anything?
I'll just talk in an English accent. What did I say
Garage?
before? Water?
Anyways, no Liam today, so it's just me and you, the YouTube chat, which is brought to you by Nation Beer, the all-new Nation Beer Everyday Lager from Odd Company Brewing. It is a crisp, clean lager crafted not just for game day, but for any day. You can pick one up at one of Odd Company's 2 locations in Edmonton. I used the Liquor Connect feature on the weekend, actually, to find the one liquor store in St. Albert that carried it. Loaded myself up this weekend. You can do the exact same. Go to liquorconnect.com.
I just asked my local liquor store guy. I was just like, hey, can you start ordering this? Bang.
Really?
Now it's in at the one right by my house.
And now every time you go, you have to get a Nation Beer.
Kind of do.
Because you can't be the guy who's like, can you bring
I'm
this
the only
in?
one
Then
getting
like,
them,
only get like 1 4-pack, then be like, thanks. No, you gotta load up now. Isaac is in. If I see Jeff Sinner scratched again, I'm rioting. Goated performance from Nuge, and honestly, nothing to complain about from the game. Maybe some goals that shouldn't have gone in, but a win is a win. And then the commenter Chris Knobloch says, I could do the funniest thing next game. I think that is fair. $5 super chat that says you're clipping, and then the audio
a little.
Just turn me down a little bit. Okay, that's my bad. We're going to talk about the playoff report, all that. Fighting Amish, did Tyler throw his hat on the ice for the Nuge Hattie? I didn't go to the game, actually, on Saturday. I think I honestly might be a little bit of a bad omen for the Oilers, so maybe I just stay away for a bit. Maybe I just avoid going to Rogers Place.
We all got to make sacrifices.
Well, no, but then if I avoid and then the playoffs roll around, I'm going to want to go to playoff games, so I can't totally avoid that.
No.
Anyways.
You get in there. Don't throw that hat, though.
Yeah, no, this is a nice one. We only made the navy blues for a little bit. I don't think you can still get them at nationgear.ca. Anyways, if you want to drop in some questions, we can. We'll keep a few for later on. We'll maybe do like an Ask Me Anything kind of style thing for the last 20 minutes of the show. So drop those in. I'll be kind of copy and pasting and keeping a few of them in my handy dandy Google Doc for later on in the show. But yeah, we'll do a little Ask Me Anything a little bit later on. But for now, let's get into the scoring summary. Let's talk a little bit about that hockey game from the weekend. Our scoring summary is brought to you by Service Credit Union. The Service Big Share contest is back, and it's your chance to win $1 million just by saving money. Every $500 you save gets you 5 entries into the Service Big Share contest. Sign up today, service.ca/win. It really is that simple. Saturday night, Edmonton, Seattle, as the Oilers, for the first time in the Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl era, had to play a game without Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl for injury. There have been a couple of instances, as Jack Michaels pointed out on Twitter and on the broadcast, where they've been held out of the lineup, like the end of the last couple of regular seasons, but the Oilers have never been in a position where both Connor and Leon are hurt. So they ventured into, call it uncharted waters to start this game. And before I even get into the scoring summary, one thing that I honestly found kind of annoying throughout the day were the people who were getting upset about Jeff Skinner being down on the third line. Why isn't Jeff Skinner playing top 6 minutes? And there is no top line. I mean, I know the Nuge, Podkolzin, Arvidsson line is listed on Daily Face-Off as line number 1, but I didn't have a big problem with Skinner starting where he did, simply because you need to get goals from kind of everywhere. Like, they did keep the second line, Henrique, Perry, and Hyman. You know, you have Henrique and Hyman. Perry's been scoring a ton this year. Like, that made sense. You don't want to break up Nuge, Arvidsson, and Podkolzin. And if you're going to play Janmark and Brown together, the only way to get any semblance of offense in that trio is if Jeff Skinner plays there. So I actually thought the lines made a ton of sense. And when you actually go back and look at the minutes in terms of 5-on-5 time on ice as a trio, no trio played together more than Skinner, Janmark, and Brown. And the results were really good. 64% of the shot attempts, 7-4 were the shots on goal. They almost were treated like the top line in that hockey game. And listen, they deserved it. I thought they had a really, really solid game together.
I was one of those people on pre-gaming that I was like, you know, he scores 2 goals and you reward him with the black hole. Offensively, that is Matthias Janmark. But I was dead wrong, dude. Connor Brown had a great game. I'm pretty sure their expected goals for was like 76 or something like that. It was incredible out there. I thought Brownie had a good one. Janmark still allergic to scoring goals, but we're working on it.
Yeah, again, like, I didn't even view it as a demotion for Skinner. I looked at it like he's a hot hand right now, and you need to spread out the offense a little bit. So I really just didn't have that big of a problem with the decision from Knobloch on Jeff Skinner. But let's get to the scoring summary. First period, Oilers strike first. Adam Henrique, his first power play goal as an Edmonton Oiler. And I actually kind of liked the puck movement from this Oilers power play. This was the second unit on the ice, but Henrique doing his best, call it kind of Connor McDavid impression. You just come in off that wing, and good things happen when you throw pucks on net. Let the record show I have correctly wagered, shout out to Bet365, on the correct first goal scorer in back-to-back games. $10 on each bet, 26-1 on each bet.
So on Wednesday, you have to tell us what you're thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, and I'm not a big, like, superstitious guy, so I'm not worried about jinxing it, but, like, also, there's no way I hit it 3 times in a row. So let's
you're hot, dude.
Yeah, maybe. So Henrique makes it 1-0. That lead very, very, very short-lived. Kind of similar to the Winnipeg game in that sense. But Capo Caco on the power play. Matty Beniers picks up an assist on this one. The Oilers' penalty kill had actually been really good for a handful of games now. It'd been a pretty solid sample size of this team consistently killing off penalties. This one here, you know, maybe you would have liked Skinner to hold on to one of those rebounds. It's a little bit just scrambly. A stick gets tied up at the last second. I don't know. Power play goal against. I'm not going to sit here and, you know, critique this one all that hard, especially with how good the PK and how good the goalies have been on the PK as of late. So this one was whatever to me. It's 1-1 going into the second period when Ryan Nugent-Hopkins gets his 18th of the season as, again, nice little play in the D zone here. End of a penalty. I know it doesn't technically go down as a shorthanded goal, but for all intents and purposes, it was a shorthanded goal. A little lucky, but when you're hot, you're hot. Like, again, early in the season, these weren't going in for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Now, these are going in for him. So he eventually, tonight, later on, we'll get to it, becomes a 20-goal scorer. And we had this conversation earlier in the year when Nuge was on a heater. I kind of forget exactly when it was, but it was like, you need to remember that even 25 goal scorers are not just simply going to show up and score a goal every 4 games and just piece together a 25-goal season. Like, you're going to get runs like this. And granted, Nuge is super, super hot. This was eventually the first hat trick that any Oiler has had this season. But anyone who complains about Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, it's like $5.1 million can get you 20 to 25 goals. And, oh yeah, as of late, he's been producing a lot of this offense away from McDavid and Draisaitl in the Oilers lineup. So it's one of those things I really want to chat with Louie about, is just how pivotal of a piece Ryan Nugent-Hopkins can be in this Oilers forward lineup. But Saturday was the Nude show. That was his first of the game. 2-1 Oilers. Capo Caco would tie it up and make it a 2-2 game. Capo Caco, since coming over to the Rangers, has actually been pretty good for this Seattle team. But a nice play, a nice play at the line to pick it off. Bush probably has to be a little bit more sure-handed than that. Stuart Skinner bites pretty hard on the move. I don't know. Again, like, it's a bouncing puck. Probably just put that thing in the corner and just get it away from the two guys, or get some pace on it so at least a guy's not able to pick it off that clean. It's not a good play by Evan Bouchard, but also, And this is why, and I really, really don't want to have this whole conversation again, but like we've totally lost the plot on Evan Bouchard. The fact that he's been their best defenseman for the last, I'm not afraid to say, month now, since coming back from the Four Nations break. That first game back wasn't great. Since then, Evan Bouchard has been their best defenseman, and I don't even know how close it is. He makes one mistake, it ends up in the back of their net. And again, people are out there, like I had a guy tweeting me being like, how come every single game there's one turnover Bouchard makes that leads to a goal against? And it's like, that's like not even remotely close to true, but yet that's the narrative people are jumping on now.
They're just memorable mistakes in those, but he has been very good lately.
Very good in his last 9 games now. So that is, again, since, oh no, sorry, I was sorting the wrong way. Boom. In his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games, he's only been outscored at 5-on-5 twice. 1-1, 1-1, outscored 2-0. That was the Buffalo game. Not a great game. 1-0, 1-0, 0-0, 4-0 against Utah, 1-0 against Winnipeg, and then 2-1 against Seattle. Like, again, I just don't have that big of a problem with the way Bush is playing as of late, considering how big of a role he has to play. That mistake sucks. But again, people using it to jump down Evan Bouchard's throat was very, very annoying.
It's been a minute since we've seen that mistake.
Yes, exactly.
And when you play that much, the puck's on your stick that much, also athlete, respecting the blue line right before they play, and then just get that puck deep.
Yeah, absolutely. The Oilers actually had a great finish to this period. Jeff Skinner, 14th of the year. Again, everyone complaining about where he was in the lineup. I love watching Jeff Skinner skate, by the way, just because it's so unique. Like, he's always doing that kind of eagle turn, edge work thing. Bro. But, like, this just also goes back to, like, play Jeff Skinner more. And they did play him a lot on Saturday night. But, like, eventually guys who are that skilled, and it was a great first pass there. They get that one look, good pinch. But, like, if you keep giving Jeff Skinner opportunities like this, he is going to score. And well, I'll talk about the playoff lineup in a little bit. I think if you would have asked me on deadline day 3 weeks ago, do you think Jeff Skinner's in the Oilers lineup night 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs? I would have been like, probably not. He's your 13th forward. As things stand right now on March 24th, there's no way Jeff Skinner can't be in your night 1 Stanley Cup playoff lineup. And honestly, when McDavid's back, we'll see if they continue to give that a little bit of leash here and continue that experiment. But as of right now, if everyone was healthy, Jeff Skinner's on my top line. More on that in a bit. That was a great goal. 18-11 mark of the second period. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, another power play marker from the Edmonton Oilers. The fact that, again, no McDavid, no Draisaitl, and they score 2 power play goals. I mean, it's kind of funny. It's kind of frustrating, but in the moment, again, you take it. A great little play by Nuge. And I know that kind of looks like an innocent enough goal or like a weak goal. Using that screen of Zach Hyman, that's just a veteran shooter in RNH. Like, watch how he drags this over, and we'll see it when he eventually gets the puck back here. But he drags it over and, like, waits perfectly for Decord's eyes to be moved out of the way by that screen. And the second his eyes are gone, boom, that puck is off his stick in a millisecond, back of the net.
Death taxes, Nuge low blocker.
Nuge, low blocker, yep, fist pump after, all the stuff. He checked all the boxes. So Hyman and Bouchard pick up assists on that goal. Oilers up 4-2. Felt like they were going to skate to victory in this one. And then Andre Burakovsky, 5 minutes and 57 seconds into the third period, got the Kraken back to within 1. It's a nice shot. It's through traffic. If you're going to sit there and give Nuge love for his goal, you can't really sit here and roast Stuart Skinner for giving up this one. Like, that's a bullet of a shot. I know it's a little bit from the outside, but I don't know. Didn't have a big
screening him pretty good.
Yeah, like this one was whatever to me. Goals that go in. Like, I actually didn't have that big of a problem with any of the goals the Oilers gave up in that hockey game. And again, that's something I want to talk to Louie about a little bit later on. But Ryan Nugent-Hopkins would complete the hat trick by getting a shorthanded empty netter. So again, he honestly, again, basically had 2 shorties in this one, which is crazy. And Aaron, you joked, I know you're talking about on pre-gaming or on Oilers Nation After Dark. This one might have been the most impressive?
Without a doubt, it's the most impressive of all the goals. The way that he gets the puck at the end, he does a little shimmy shake thing here, looks up for 1 second, bang, it's a one hopper all the way down into the net. What a way to get the first hat trick of the season.
Yeah, it was great. And then, they're playing the Bon Jovi and they're picking up the hats and the crowd's in a great mood. And the Oilers forget that they still had to play hockey. 14 seconds later, Jaden Schwartz finds the back of the net, but the game would end at a 5-4 final. 29 shots on goal for the Oilers. I was sweating so hard at the end because I had puck line, live bet the puck line halfway when it was right when Kakko tied it up at 2-2. I was like, I think the Oilers got him. So I live at the puck line, and I had 30-plus shots on goal.
Ooh.
Needed one more shot if the empty netter would have cashed.
You got Rico.
Yeah, that's fair. I got the Rico goal. I really can't complain when you're hitting a 26-1 banger. So the Oilers hold on. They win 5-4. I'll save the goaltending talk for a little bit. We're going to be joined by Louie DeBrusk in a couple of seconds too, but just let me keep going on the lineup a little bit here and talk a little bit more about that. Can you put up the DFO lines for me again? Because I was sitting at home on Saturday watching the game, kind of doing the exercise of the picture of Frederic, Kane, McDavid, and Draisaitl all sitting in just inside the gates of the locker room to fist bump the boys as they were coming off the ice. I'm sitting here going, you need to find a way to get all four of those guys in the lineup for night one of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And you flash back to that lineup that played really well against Seattle, and you're like, okay, there's going to be some tough-ish conversations to have around this team and who is the odd man out. I think easy, you just kind of start by Derek Ryan, Max Jones, Kasperi Kapanen. That fourth line, you're just cleanly removing them out of the lineup. But then what do you do after that? One guy from what's listed on your screen here as the top 9 has to be pulled out of the lineup at some point here. Jeff Skinner has 14 goals. I know you can sit here and talk about, well, it's playoff hockey, this, that, whatever. I would be, unless he goes ice cold, it is very hard to justify pulling Jeff Skinner out of this lineup, even in a bottom 6 role. Connor Brown, I could see that. He's a winger. There's the penalty killing side of it, but is Connor Brown the next logical step? I get why you'd like to have Matthias Janmark in the lineup, but I think Janmark's the odd man out if everyone is truly healthy. And it's never a guarantee that you get everybody healthy and in the lineup. People are saying maybe Vasily Podkolzin. Honestly, what is the justification for keeping Janmark in the lineup over Podkolzin?
That he can play center sometimes.
But if you're going to go McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent-Henrique, and go strong spine, those 4 guys down the middle, you don't need another centerman.
And I think Connor Brown is less expendable because he brings that speed. He's a winger. He's also just more of a dog. He's shown more offensive touch this season. Janmark, I love you, but I look at that. Then the only other option would be like Corey Perry to me.
But
and I'm not taking out a guy that scored that many goals. No. The same thing you said about Jeff Skinner applies to Corey Perry.
Absolutely. So I think it's Janmark is I can make a justification for everyone else staying in. For Janmark, again, sure, decent penalty killer, but how many penalty killers do you want to keep in your lineup? Like, if you trust Podkolzin and you trust Connor Brown, okay, you have Henrique. I don't know.
Trent Frederic, I'd like to see out there.
Yeah, I'd like to see that as well. He didn't kill a lot of penalties. That's because he's usually the one in the box for the Boston Bruins. But maybe Frederic is that guy for you. I don't know. Maybe it's. But again, if you're debating between Janmark and Podkolzin, they can both kill penalties. So why are you worried about it is my point. Like, take the guy who skates better in Podkolzin. And listen, I know neither of them have done a lot in terms of scoring this season, but Podkolzin has done more than Matthias Janmark at least. He's at the 7-goal mark. And again, Matthias Janmark has not beaten a goalie by shooting a puck.
Yeah, with a stick. Yeah.
With a stick. He's shot one puck into an empty net and had one puck that went in off his elbow or whatever, off his side and in. If it's between Podkolzin and Janmark, it's Podkolzin for me. Maybe we'll do a little bit of a mock lineup later on. Is our boy Louie DeBrusk here ready to go? All right.
Sure is.
Let's get out to the guest line, which today is brought to you by our friends at Sherwood Power Sports and Marine, located right in the heart of Sherwood Park. They are hockey fans helping hockey fans, and right now their Price Thaw event is going on with savings on motorcycles, boats, and ATVs. As we welcome in Louie DeBrusk, Sportsnet analyst, former NHLer. Oh, Louie DeTruck. Oh, the chat's going to love this, Louie. Thanks for joining me again on a Monday.
Yeah, I like the truck studio every once in a while. Yeah, how you guys doing today?
It's good. It's a winning Monday. The chat's nice and fired up, and let's maybe start with that win on Saturday over the Seattle Kraken. You have a pretty good beat on the mindset of this team, and that's kind of the stuff I like asking you. But with an opportunity, 97 and 29 out of the lineup, did you get the sense that there were maybe some guys who were, even morning skate leading up to it, like they were getting up for the challenge a little bit? They were feeling a little bit more loose, being like, man, I might play 18, 19 minutes tonight.
I did, and I think everybody understood that the expectation goes up when you have your top two players out of the lineup. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins addressed the media this morning and said the exact same thing. He was just, he said, listen, we understand when those guys are out of the lineup that other guys have to step up, and we know we're going to get more. But there is an excitement there. When you know you're going to come to a game, you're going to play more than you usually do, and there's an opportunity for more ice time. There's a little extra jump in your stride. It's funny because I think people look at it as, ooh, there's a huge responsibility and those are big shoes to fill, impossible to fill. How are they going to do it? But in reality, I think players just go out there and they just want to play. Every single player wants to play, and every single player wants to play more. With the exception of maybe a couple guys that play close to 30 minutes a night, they probably are at the threshold of where they feel they should play, but they'd probably even want to play a little bit more. The Quinn Hughes of the world, and Werenski's right up there, nice time this year. So those guys are used to it. They play it. But I thought they had a little extra jump. I think it started in warm-up. It started in the morning skate. I think that they understood the task at hand was going to be difficult. They had to play a real strong defensive game and look for their opportunities. And I thought it was a galvanizing win. I like to use that word for the group without their top players to go out there and win a hockey game against a team that we know they're not going to be in the playoffs, the Seattle Kraken, but they are a team that have some weapons. They're a team that work hard. They're not going to go away, and they're going to push you right to the end, and that's exactly what happened. But a nice win for the guys.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins obviously steals the show with his hat trick. First time an Oiler has had a hat trick this season, which is just a crazy thing to say, but he seems to have sort of found himself once again as a centerman at the NHL level. I know last year was kind of like the numbers at least weren't good when he was being used as a centerman, and it was like, okay, in his 30s now, is Nuge just going to be more of a full-time winger? Well, over the last couple of weeks, he's been a revolution for the Oilers. Him and Arvidsson seem to have found something as well. I guess I just kind of want to talk about how pivotal of a piece he can be. If this isn't like a stroke of luck, and if Nuge can keep this going into the playoffs, having a legitimate driver like that on the third line and this duo with Arvidsson, it totally changes the dynamic of this forward group if you go McDavid, Draisaitl, and a really damn good Nugent-Hopkins on line 3.
Yeah, especially for the matchups, right? I agree. Yeah. And, I think it's been a tough year for Nuge. I think it's been a tough year for a lot of guys. I think it's that hangover, and I know it's a long time ago, and you don't want to keep going back to it. But it kind of, for me, it's not a coincidence that Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is finding his best game right now down the stretch into the playoffs. We've talked about this before. They have an internal calendar. They have an internal compass that directs them towards the end of the season, into the playoffs, and you start to find they increase their intensity each and every game going into it. And this team's been great down the stretch over the last 4 or 5 years. They've been a real solid team that usually finds themselves into the playoffs on a roll. So, that notwithstanding, I just think for Nugent-Hopkins, he's the longest tenured Oiler. He understood that with McDavid and Draisaitl in the lineup, there was going to be more responsibility on his shoulders. This isn't an unfamiliar position for him. I mean, before those two guys came, he was the guy that was leading the charge, and he was the guy that was expected to do everything as the top centerman on the team. So this is a position he's been in before, but good to see him finding his game. And I agree with you, Ty. I think that the center position allows him to be a little more open with where he's going on the ice. Obviously, he's always had that defensive conscience, and rightfully so. He's always been a 200-foot player, but it's opened up the opportunity offensively for him. And I think that's what most people, myself included, think that was lacking in his game a little bit, was just that urgency on the offense where, hey, you're a really skilled player. You can do more offensively. You don't have to always make the safe play. And the puck's going in for him right now. So that's just a real positive booster for him that I think will carry through for the rest of the season to the playoffs for him. And you know what? It does give them that option to have him in the 3-hole. I still kind of feel he might find himself up on wing, especially with Trent Frederick coming into the lineup, who potentially could play that 3-hole for the centerman. I think they want to try him there. He's also a winger, versatile there. But you know what? If they want to keep him in the 3-hole and he's playing like this, I mean, that's the perfect situation for me, is that you've got three solid lines that can all hurt you. And a fourth line, when you look at the fourth line, that's going to be tenacious, going to be fast, great checking line, that the details of the game are there. That's how you win.
Let's go through, this is a bit of a hypothetical, but I was talking about it before we brought you on. We looked at that picture of Frederic and Kane and McDavid and Draisaitl in the locker room waiting for their teammates after the game, and the thought that popped in my head was, holy shit, Chris Knobloch's got to fit 4 of these guys into the lineup on the opening night of the playoffs. If we got to that point, has someone like Jeff Skinner done enough to stay in, or is he still on the outside looking in because maybe you'd want the playoff performer that Janmark was down in the last couple rounds last year, or even Connor Brown? Like, has Skinner put himself in the spot where you think he'll be in the lineup when everyone is healthy, or is he still just a little bit on the outside looking in?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think if those 4 guys injected back into the lineup, it's going to get tough to get in there, especially in the top 6. You know, like, that's 3 guys that have played in the top 6 their entire career, essentially, with McDavid, Draisaitl, and Kane. And Trent Frederic's seen some time there as well throughout his career. But we'll see. I think it's going to be a game-by-game decision. I really do. I think that you're going to see a team that, you know, how players are playing is going to dictate whether you're in the lineup again or not. That internal competition is something that everybody always talks about being so important. But I also think that when you start to get down to the nitty-gritty of it, it's about what you do also in the special teams department. And I think the penalty killing for players like Brown, like Janmark, Podkolzin has turned into a really effective penalty killer, along with Kapanen. Kapanen's done a nice job in there too. I think that becomes more critical and more important because you have the offensive numbers of the guys that are up there in the top 6 and the guys you've injected back in the lineup. It's a big question mark. Kane was on the ice again today. I actually thought he looked pretty good. I looked at him on the ice today, and I said, there's no question he'll be ready for playoffs, in my opinion. In my opinion, he will 100% be ready. He's a freak of nature when it comes to his athleticism, right? I mean, this guy heals pretty quick. This guy, once he gets back into the groove, he can jump on the ice, not like many people, and give you an effective game. With being rusty, you know, because the other things that he can bring to the table, the physicality, he got in the forecheck one time in practice this morning, and I thought, I can't remember, I think it was Klingberg, he could have blown him up. Like, it would have been, I'm going to crush you here. And he's just starting to work through, he's got time here. He's got time to get his stride, his conditioning, his strength built up. So I'm thinking there's no question he's going to be ready. He's going to be ready to play. The question is, can he go in there and be effective? I think there's a lot of motivation there, so that'll be interesting. That's like a found player. That's like a player you picked up at the deadline. And here, this is the forecheck here. I mean, that's him just putting it in high gear a little bit. That little look back after was like, yeah, you were on me pretty quick there. Like that's where he would have blown a guy up, and that's what he brings to the table. So, in my opinion, that is more valuable and important than a guy that potentially could score that goal and mixes and matches, and it'll be the coach's decision. But I know what I would think that would be in the lineup. But I do believe, Ty, that it's going to be on a game-by-game basis. I think if you're playing well, you're going to stay in. If you're not, there's other guys that are chomping at the bit to get in there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of the depth the Oilers have assembled now, because, again, not that there's ever a guarantee, knock on wood, that everyone's going to be healthy at any given point. But if they are, you're looking at a team whose 13th forward could be Jeff Skinner, and then you go Kapanen, and then Derek Ryan and Max Jones, and it's like, man, it's safe to say they have 16 NHL forwards in their organization, and I don't think there's another team in the West who chalks up the same way depth-wise. I think you can look at Dallas and really like everything that they have, and obviously Rantanen adds that element of high-end skill, and Colorado with Nathan McKinnon, that's great. But if you start looking in the bottom parts of forward groups around the Western Conference, it's the Oilers and it's everybody else. And again, come playoff time, when you need to beat a team 4 out of 7 times, to sit there and go, you know what, maybe in game 3 we found a way to shut down McDavid and Draisaitl, but you have 15, 16 goal Corey Perry and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins playing in your bottom 6. There might be nights where the other team shuts down the Oilers' big guns, but their bottom 6 could actually have the ability to win them playoff games this year, and that makes them dangerous.
I agree. And it's funny how, we going into the deadline, the wish list was obvious a defenseman, bringing in a defenseman, whether it be a right or left-handed shot, someone that could play both. They go out and get Wallman. They get Max Jones. They wanted a little grit in the size. Trent Frederick, obviously a really valuable part of what they went out and did at the deadline. They feel he can come in and give them an intangible that they don't have without Kane. But now that Kane's in the mix and potentially an option, it really does make them a deep team. And all of a sudden, you look at it, and the team looks a little differently. And that shot you showed there, the four of them standing there watching all the guys come up after the win, and you're looking at that going, that's four pretty big guys that all have extremely important roles if they're able to get in there and play. That can make your team look a lot different. And I just think that depth is so key when you get into a playoff push and you get into the playoffs and you start to drive. Having the depth and the ability to change things up if you need to are always the sign of a successful team. They've built a pretty solid team here. They built a solid team here with the opportunities they've had, with the salary cap they've had. If it all comes to fruition at the right time here, I think people are going to be pretty impressed how this team can look, heading into the last few games of the season and then into the playoffs, if Evander Kane can find that timeline. And from what I said this morning, looking at him, I really did watch him skate today. I know he's not pushing extremely hard yet. He's not going all out, but he's in the mix for sure. There's no question he's going to be ready physically to play come playoffs.
Yourself and Scott Oak finally got Stan Bowman on After Hours, and I found one of his answers really interesting about the goaltending. And listen, I've been someone who's been a Stuart Skinner supporter. I've been pretty vocal about that, but I find that right now, and this ties into Bowman's answer a little bit, there are too many people criticizing Stuart Skinner that are just looking at the box scores. Like against Winnipeg, for example, he has an 8-13. He gives up 3 goals on 16 shots. But out of those 13 saves, a handful of them were just like 10 Bell stops where he's, it was Kyle Connor in the first period, stuff like that. I still feel like the goaltending is getting a little bit too much criticism. But what did you make of Bowman's answer when you asked him? And what have you thought of Stuart Skinner for, let's call it, the last 10 days here?
Yeah, I agree with you. I would agree with you and Stan that this is a hot button topic in this market because of the history of goaltending in Edmonton. And, I like what he said. The end of his answer is the one thing I always come back to, too, is the fact that he got you to the Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. He needed some help from Calvin Pickard in the second round against the Vancouver Canucks. And you know what? You do need that sometimes. I always look back and see teams that win the Stanley Cup. It's not always the number one goalie that just rides it all the way through. Very rarely is that the case. A lot of times you need both guys like you do in the regular season. That you need that little mental and physical break of the intensity of what is the most intense time of the season, and that's the playoffs. And he did. He needed a little reset against Vancouver. He came back in, and then from that point on, played real solid hockey. I just think, for me, I always judge it on the whole team. And maybe, I'm not soft on goaltending, but I always look at all the moving pieces when I'm talking about goaltending. This team wasn't defending well enough. Sorry, at the start of the year they weren't. The numbers were drastically affected. Even when he stood on his head in games, there were times where you just said to yourself, there's too many high-quality chances, like you're saying, Ty, early in that game. Too many grade A chances that he's having to fend off, and I've always believed in, the accumulation of those chances do take a toll. They take a toll on a goaltender. They make saves maybe they shouldn't make, and then they let one in they should have stopped. And that to me is just a sign of a wear and tear. Does he have to clean that up? Absolutely. I think that when he's playing his best games, he's confident, he has the body language and the movement, he's reading the play well, he's not trying to worry about what could possibly happen, he's worrying about what's happening right this split second. And I think for all goaltenders, they'll talk about that. When you have the confidence of your defensemen and your forwards back in the zone to take care of business once that save is made, then you just make the save. You go out there and try and make the save. If you have to make another one, you concentrate on that once the first save is made. And I think early on, he was looking around him, seeing potential dangers, and not just focusing in on, hey, I need to make this stop. Screw everything else. My job is to stop this shot right here. When you're distracted with other stuff like that is when typically the soft goal goes in. But I don't mind this game. To answer your question long-winded, I think if you look at the way it's come around, there was the dip from the whole team, but I think they've got good performances from both him and Pickard and back-to-back where they were both first stars. And then I think they've just kind of rode along. And there's going to be little ups and downs, but I think you have to give him the opportunity to prove that he can do it again before you start to be negative and say he can't. And it's been a long year and a trying year for the whole team. It hasn't been a smooth ride, but that could bode well. That could bode well down the stretch and into the playoffs. I think sometimes when you just have everything going your way and then you get into that first real chunk of adversity, and if it's at the wrong time, it can shorten your season real quick. But I think if you've had it all year long where you had to rise over these obstacles that keep coming up, I think that it can really provide a real test for you throughout the season that carries over into the playoffs, and you know how to win those games. This team is a team that knows how to buckle it down, knows how to win hockey games. They're going to be a hard out, just with the players they have in the lineup, with the way they played and the time they spent in the league. This will not be an easy out for any team. And that's kind of what they're looking for going into the playoffs. So I'm okay with the goaltending. I didn't think they should make a move. I know there was a lot of talk about John Gibson. We talked about John Gibson on this show, and I just thought this wasn't the time for it. I just didn't think this was the time for it. The window is still open here for the next few years, and I would rather see them give these two guys an opportunity to prove they can do it again.
Last one I just quickly wanted to throw your way. Over the weekend, the clip was going around of Pat Maroon and Darren Pang, and Maroon saying that he's retiring at the end of this season. I mean, you think about a guy who, when he came to Edmonton, was a fringe NHLer at best and was maybe getting his last opportunity to become a full-time NHLer in Edmonton. And let's just maybe talk about what he did with the opportunity here in Edmonton and then what he did just keeping his career alive. Like, he was 160th overall in the 2007 draft, and by the time this year ends, he's going to finish 16th or 17th in games played from that draft class. It's such a cool story and just a great career.
The Ultra Maroon wears his emotions on his sleeve. You remember that great interview with Gene Principe back in the day when he was talking about playing in front of his son, and his son actually drafted by the London Knights, the same junior team that Pat played for. So pretty interesting little segue there. But I was just talking with Jim Matheson in the room. We were just talking about that actually. The old London Knights. I was an ex-Knight, so I love seeing that. But, you know, one of the true characters in the game, isn't he? One of the true characters in the game that everybody recognizes, everybody knows. He brings a dimension that is just, it's a lost art in the game. It really is. He understands his role completely. And sometimes, you know, with the young players coming up, there's expectations that are higher than maybe what they're going to achieve at the National Hockey League level. You need to learn how to play a role first before you're able to get up to that next level. And I think for Patty, he just realized, hey, this is what I need to do to be effective. Went to 4 straight Stanley Cup finals. Won 3 of them, and what a remarkable career that he carved out. One of the tougher guys around, would fight for his teammates. My son played with him in Boston when he came to Boston last year, and he said he loved him. He said he was just an awesome teammate, an awesome guy to be around, kept it light, and it's why he's always been wanted by teams down the stretch. Not the fastest guy in the world, for sure, but he makes the best of his attributes, you know, and that's not always the case. Of making the best of what you have. So, terrific career. Congratulations to him on having an amazing career, winning 3 Stanley Cups, going to another final, could have won 4 in a row. I mean, that would have been incredible, but lost in the final, obviously. And just a terrific career, and one of those guys that everybody likes when they meet him. He's just, he's a jewel, you know, and he's just like, he's one of those guys, when you look at him, you start smiling right away because he's a character, and the game needs more of that.
Yeah, that 2007 draft class produced 2 3-time Stanley Cup champions, Patrick Maroon and Patrick Kane. What a crazy little thing from that 07 draft. Louie, thank you so much for your time, man. We'll chat again next week.
Sounds good, guys. Take care.
There you go. Louie DeBrusk for our friends at Sherwood Power Sports and Marine. He's also brought to you by Douglas Mattress. I've been sleeping like a baby on my Douglas the last couple of years, and now you can sleep just as good as I do by heading to douglas.ca/Oilersnation or visiting them at their first physical location in Manchester Square. You can find out more by visiting them at their website. Great value starting at only $599 and free shipping across the country. Shout out to Douglas Mattress. It comes shipped to your house in a nice box, and you unzip the little thing, and then boom, it expands, and you're sleeping great that night. Shout out to Louie DeBrusk as well. Man, Patrick Maroon, like, again, coming to Edmonton when he did, and then turning his career into what he did. Like, he scored how many goals as an Oiler? And basically, we'll call it 2 full seasons, because he had coming over from the deadline a full year, and then they traded him at the deadline the year after. He scored 49 goals as an Oiler. I don't think he scored 49 goals from when he was dealt out of Edmonton till the end of his career. But again, won 3 Stanley Cups, was a full-time NHLer for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more seasons. It's crazy.
Guy who knows his role and is like the epitome of, you think Connor McDavid, you think his line mates would be fast and super skilled and everything like that, but it goes to show you that different styles work with different things. And dude came to Edmonton, totally reboots his career, and then goes off, and would have been nice if he wanted to share one of those Stanley Cup rings, but good for him.
Yeah.
Also, his son, London Knights.
I looked
that's
up
crazy to me.
I looked up his kid's elite prospects, and he's actually like really good.
Is
He was
it
like
Anthony? Is that
Yeah,
his name?
Anthony.
Yeah, I didn't know.
It's hyphenated on the last name. It's something Maroon, but you can find him on Elite Prospects. On he's like a point per game AAA player in St. Louis as a 16-year-old. So, anyways, could be another. That'd be a. Can you? Nothing would make me feel older covering this sport and this team than like if Anthony Maroon in 2 years gets drafted, and you're like, oh, I remember when he was like, what, 11 or 10, and like there was the shot of him in the stands?
Ty, I regret to inform you, but that day is coming. That day is. It's going to happen, because we're going to be doing this show forever.
Yeah, we're never going to stop. We're going to live forever. Let's get to a Sherwood Ford Giant question brought to you by our friends at Guess Who? Sherwood Ford, the Giant Nation Valet Service, live now. We're going to throw the link in the description of the episode as well. It is super easy to book, and just then your work's done. Literally, all you have to do is book, and then they come pick up your vehicle, drive it to the dealership, then drive it right on back to you. Nation Valet Service also gets you an exclusive swag pack with every time you book from us here at Oilers Nation. You get the little Oilers Nation air freshener, and that is the only way you can get one. We do not give them away at events. We do not sell them.
I don't even have one.
Yeah, there's one in the bathroom here that we use because it smells so good. After hours. Bowman had an interesting line about Connor McDavid's extension. I wanted to talk to Louie about it, but we kept him already for 20 minutes. I wanted to let him go. Who knows if he was idling? Did he have enough gas to do another question? Who knows?
I wanted to ask him about Calvin Pickard saving his face.
Oh, we should have asked him about that. That would have been a good clip to get too. Anyways, they asked him about McDavid's extension, and Scott O kind of made a joke being like, if this thing's not done on July 2nd, like, how are you going to deal with sort of the way the market reacts and all of that kind of stuff? Because, listen, it's not like McDavid is becoming a free agent this July, but I also don't think the Oilers have a lot of interest in letting this thing linger into next season. Similar to Draisaitl, they'll want to get it sorted out. And maybe not similar to Draisaitl, I think they're going to be under some amount of pressure to get this thing done relatively soon to end any sort of a media circus that could be around it. So as Bowman talked about it on After Hours, I think his final quote was very interesting. He said, "We all know that Connor's going to be here." Which sets up an interesting question, because McDavid apparently hasn't really wanted to talk all that much about it during the regular season, which is understandable. He's focused on winning a Stanley Cup. And again, it's not like he's a UFA on July 1. It's not like they're only going to have 1 month to get this deal done when the Oilers' playoff run comes to an end, whenever that could be. But I'm curious, for a Sherwood Ford Giant question, if you had to predict the exact way the McDavid extension will come down. Because I'm not sitting here thinking they're going to let this thing play out into September or anything like that. And Bowman said, we're going to make it happen. I wonder if it's going to be a July 2 or July 3 before McDavid heads out of town to go back to cottage country. Do they do it then? Or is this like we hear all summer, hey, they're somewhere around 16 by 8. They're somewhere around 17 by 8. And they're just waiting, similar to Leon, for when he's closer to coming back to town and closer to training camp. And the team wanted to, that was the other thing we heard with Leon, the team wanted to focus on everything else they had going on in free agency before getting that done. When will we see it, Aaron? Do you think it's a July 3 before he leaves town, they end on a high note, bang? Or do you think we're waiting till September?
No, I think we're waiting till like right around training camp. I think just the way the season will end, you go off right off in the sunset, you do your vacation thing, and he's just going to spend that time training, letting his agent do it all. Come back around training camp time, give us something to talk about as well. But I would like that maybe in the middle of August. That would be nice. But I don't think it'll happen right away, because there is realistically no rush. The only rush is the headache that's coming from the media and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I think during that July timeframe, there'll be media needs to go on vacation as well, you know what I mean? And I think it'll come back right when they're hitting the ice for training camp. What about you?
I don't know. I mean, listen, like most things, I'm sure it'll depend on how the playoff run goes. If this is and listen, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. If this is you're bounced in round 2 to the Vegas Golden Knights, I think then maybe there's a little bit of a conversation or things change. If you win the Stanley Cup this year, is that thing not just signed
Signs it at the parade.
Yeah, is that not signed on the parade float as they're heading down Jasper Ave? Like, maybe if they lose a heartbreaker late, does Connor sit there and go, no, I need 2 months to think about things before I talk about signing an extension? I don't know. I do think the playoff run could end up determining things a little bit more. My guess all along has kind of been it'll be $16 million even on an 8-year deal, especially when you consider like Mikko Rantanen still only got 12. So it's not like the market's been blown up by any contract since Leon has signed. So I think you're probably, if you're Connor, 8 by 16 gives you, because there is a number to chase. It's the deal Ovi had. So 8 by 16 gives you 128. I think Ovi
like
had
the largest total value.
Total value. I think Ovi had it at like 126 million or something like that. So if Connor did 8 by 16, 2 more than Leon, so he'd be, a pretty big gap, highest paid player in the league, and he would have the largest total dollar value contract as well. Also, an 8-year deal would take him to 36. So like similar to like the Sid thing, where then when you're 36, you get to reevaluate where the team's at, get to, if you wanted to go play somewhere else to end your career, you still could at that point. Not that I don't think Connor McDavid ever will, but I think 8 by 16 is going to be is going to continue to be my guess.
And once again, with the cap going up, that sounds alarming, but no, it won't be. And then the other thing is, I'd give him a blank check. I don't care what it is. I'd put any number down.
What deal gets signed first, Bouchard or McDavid? Because remember, Bouchard is an RFA like this summer.
Bouchard.
Probably.
Bouchard.
Probably.
And he's got to be also going right now. Should get all the money I can possibly get.
Yeah. Mackay and Dry, Connor won't get anyone better than Dry. Yeah, I mean, again, I believe he's signing. I have no reason to think he's not. Seven says minimum wage by 300 years. Who says no? The deferred money idea actually could get pretty interesting, because if there's any player who would be comfortable enough in their finances to take deferred money, it's probably Connor McDavid. The endorsement dollars, all of that shit. He's been making endorsement money since he was like 15. Come on. I'm
curious how this deferred thing, because once again, I went to TV broadcasting for a reason. I don't really totally understand it. But to me, if you're a guy like a Connor McDavid and you want to fill out the rest of your team, if that is an option, I do not understand the legality of how you can just do that. It's like an NFL contract to me, when they just restructure it and you're like, oh, here's $80 million in cap space. Here you go. But I'd like to look into that some more.
Yeah, I honestly kind of would too. Like, again, Leon didn't want any part of it. Yeah. Leon took his money straight up, whatever. Rantanen was straight up as well. But if you're Connor McDavid and it's like, okay, again, money is never going to be a problem for Connor McDavid or his kids' kids. Like, generational wealth, that bag has been secured. If you're sitting there going, I can get what is the equivalent, we'll call it, of a $19 million AAV, but I just got to wait 10 years after my career to finish getting it. And in the meantime, my actual cap hit is, again, I don't know how the money works on this, but my cap hit is $13 million. And the team has all that extra wiggle room. And as the cap continues to go up, me and Leon only make $27 million. Like, I don't know.
Connor's not strapped for cash right now.
No. Yeah, someone makes a good point, McKay Dry. Leon didn't think he'd have this kind of season, so he undervalued himself. If Leon Draisaitl was not signed and he got off to the start that he did, we're probably talking about, I mean, him on the open market probably would have gotten $18 million this summer. Leon?
Blank check strategy once again.
Like, you're telling me, and you can go down the list of, I mean, what do you think Chicago would have offered Leon Draisaitl this summer if he was a straight UFA? They have $31.9 million in cap space with, I think, 11 forwards, 6 defensemen, and 2 goalies signed.
At least half of that. So
At
that's
least
16.
That's 16. This might sound like whatever. Chicago might have offered him $20 million a year if he got free agency this summer.
I don't think that's crazy.
No?
Now, once again, I don't know what the strategy is there for building the rest of your roster.
But like, I think
desperation, brother.
I think one of those teams would have just looked and like shot from the hip and been like, blank check, 20 mil, you sign right now. And Leon would have been like, what? Anyways, that's going in a weird direction. Let's continue along with the show. Let's do a little playoff race report for our friends at Star Mechanical, Edmonton's #1 plumbing and heating company. You can find out more about them online at starmechanical.ca. One of Edmonton's largest locally owned and operated companies is Star Mechanical. That's why you can trust them with all your plumbing and heating needs. In the Western Conference, it is the St. Louis Blues who are in that top spot, both on points and points percentage. But the Calgary Flames still do control their own destiny in this one. They have 3 games in hand on the St. Louis Blues and are only 4 points back. If the Calgary Flames were to, again, win out, and they have won 3 in a row, St. Louis has won 6 in a row. If the Calgary Flames were to win out, we're talking about a Calgary team that's going to not only get into the playoffs, but they're going to be going toe-to-toe with the Winnipeg Jets in round 1, which would be a pretty interesting series, Hellebuck versus Dustin Wolf. Still, St. Louis, really good story right now. They don't have enough juice to catch the Minnesota Wild just because I think the games in hand hurt them. And like, even if St. Louis were to go, let's call it 10-0 in their final 10 and were to end the season on a 16-game winning streak, again, insane. They would be at 101 points. Minnesota would still just have to go 8-4 to catch them. So I don't think St. Louis, again, even if they were to win out, is going to move out of wild card 1. So no threat of the Oilers getting them in round 1. But man, if Edmonton would have had a better regular season and would have been sitting in the conversation for the top spot in the West, we'd be sitting here right now going, you're either getting a BOA or you're getting Broberg and Holloway coming to town. Woo!
Dude, put that in my veins. That would be incredible. Once again, the Blues thing, I don't know. I just get scared. I don't know why. I don't know why it hurts more than other ones. But once again, we brought up Holloway and Broberg on the show just like that. I think St. Louis for sure is getting in over Calgary. I just think the way their team looks right now, they're getting hot. They're also schedule advantage, right? I think they're
a little bit. But here's the thing is, like, you're hot. Like, they needed this 8-1-1 run, 6 wins in a row, to get back into a point where they're holding on to the top wildcard spot. Like, you can't, you can, but it's very hard to keep that heater going for your final 10. Like, I don't know. Let's look at the Blues schedule. So they go Montreal next, tough game. Okay, then they do get Nashville, soft. Colorado, tough game. Then they get Detroit, soft. Pittsburgh, soft. Colorado, tough game. So you'll look, and out of their final 10, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Colorado, and Montreal. 5 of their 10 are in the playoff mix. Like, you're not going 10-0. So if St. Louis, let's call it 7-3, that puts them up to 95 points. That means Calgary would have to get 18 points in their final 13 games. So can Calgary go 9-4? It's tighter than you think. Edmonton obviously still duking it out with the Kings for seeding right now. 5 points back of the Vegas Golden Knights. That head-to-head game could still change things on April 1 when we're in Vegas 8 days from now. But it looks like Edmonton's just going to be in a fight to just keep staying above the LA Kings. If you're one of those people who's worried about Edmonton falling out of the divisional spot, let's do a little bit of Yaremchuk math here on this. 12 games to go for the Oilers. Let's say 7-5. I think that's a fair record, right? 7-5 would put them at 14 points. That's 101 points. Calgary would need 24 points in their final 13 games. That's not happening.
Don't even put that in.
That's 12-1 if the Oilers just go 7-5. So Edmonton's good where they are. They're not going to fall any further than third, but I would like to have round 1 start in Edmonton, and you can guarantee that if you can stay ahead of LA, who was also 8-1-1 in their last 10. So the Kings aren't losing right now, which is very frustrating, but hopefully we get a bit of a slide from the LA Kings. What is their schedule? Kings schedule.
Dude, we're about to get some good hockey in the month of April. Vegas once, LA twice.
Yeah. San Jose 3 times.
Yeah, exactly. There's that too.
So the Kings go, let's just count up the playoff teams they have remaining. They do get the Rangers, who are playing terrible, but are still in the playoff mix. But you get the Avs, the Leafs, then the Sharks, then the Jets, then the Oil, Kraken, Utah, Ducks, Avs again, Oilers again, and then end on the Flames. LA has to play 7 teams who are in playoff spots and 8 teams who are in the playoff conversation. They don't have a very easy schedule. Those 2 head-to-heads are going to determine it, though. Those are 4-point swings. You got to have them.
It's going to be massive. One of them's an afternoon Saturday game, too.
Disgusting.
That makes me nervous.
It should make you nervous. The other one
in Crypto.com almost said Staples.
Yeah. Then the other one, I think, is another Saturday nighter. It's in Edmonton at 8 p.m., so that'd be a little bit of a playoff preview. There you go, playoff race update for our friends over at Star Mechanical. Wrapping things up here for Bet365. Breaking news from Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win is a barn burner. Every face-off, hat-trick, power play, shot on goal, penalty shot, and every suspenseful moment in between is amazing. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, an official partner of the NHL. Download the Bet365 app. Use the code NATION to get in on the game. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly.
Speaking of breaking news, let me just pull us out to our boy Jason Gregor. Ooh.
If you're in podcast form, the tweet says McDavid and Draisaitl unlikely to play any of the 3 games this week. So what were we hearing last week? Up to a week, maybe about a week, about a week.
Whatever wording you could have put there, they put it.
Yeah. It's going to be more than a week now based on that. So they will, again, after not playing against Seattle, so from Friday, they're going to miss at least 10 days here. It's just a matter of will either of them be in the lineup when we're in Vegas on April 1st.
I'm saying a prayer every single night.
Yeah.
Please, 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 please. Somebody did present to me that we'll be up in the box. Maybe they would be too.
Maybe.
So there is that realm. But I'd much rather see him on the ice.
God damn it. How scared are you for Wednesday against Dallas?
Brother, that's going to be a big test. They'll play Dallas very well every time.
I know. What do you think that line opens up at on Bet365?
Ooh, Oilers are underdogs considerably.
So what's Dallas? Minus 200?
Yeah.
It's got to be somewhere
maybe
in that,
like
right?
190. Because the way the Oilers looked the other night, but I don't know. It's time to make some money.
Kreutzer says R.I.P. Leon's heart dreams. I don't know, because McKinnon's been on a cold streak now.
Ooh, let me check the live odds.
The live odds are Hellebuck at minus 300. And I don't think Connor Hellebuck's getting the votes. I just, there's no way enough guys in the PWHA are going to vote for Connor Hellebuck to win this. Nathan McKinnon has 3 points and 1 goal in his last 5 games. He's only scored once in his last 7. So, honestly.
Oh, this has changed considerably. Hellebuck minus 200, Leon plus 350, McKinnon 350.
So we talked about this on Oilers Nation Radio. We talked about this on Oilers Nation Radio on Friday, and we were all like, oh shit, should we just bet on Leon right now? Even with this news, if Leon misses 4 games and ends the season with 78 games played, he can still absolutely win the Hart Trophy. Like, what are we doing here? But my thing is, I think more public money is going to keep coming in on Hellebuck or potentially on McKinnon. I'm going to wait until probably this Friday and then hit it, when I think I might get Leon Draisaitl at like plus 450.
I currently have 450, so let's ride.
All right. That's good. I'll get back to that point and hammer it. That's solid. How did your March Madness bracket do?
Terrible. Absolutely awful. Let's say parlays went pretty well. I will say that. The betting on Bet365 was good, but I don't know. Watching it, we talked about before too. There's been a strategy the last couple of years of dudes betting all underdogs in every single game. You bet the same units, you end up being up. If you did that this year, you got destroyed by the books because it was all favorites all the way, and it does feel like a very top-heavy tournament. I got Duke winning. I think Duke's going to walk away with this tournament. Even without Cooper Flagg, their team is disgusting. So it's a top-heavy tournament.
How many of your Final Four are still in it? You're still 4 for 4?
I believe so.
I lost Clemson early, but I still have BYU. I had BYU going to the Final Four. They're still alive. They beat Wisconsin. And then I have Auburn over Florida on the other side. And I'm feeling so good about that side because it's so chalky.
Yeah.
It's
all chalky.
Oh, if you put $100, because people were doing the blindly bet every money line on the underdogs, you'd be down like $2,800 through the first weekend.
And I said in years previous, that strategy was working.
Yeah.
And we also finally got our first buzzer beater yesterday.
Finally.
So that was good. He also took 3 steps. Obvious thing. He traveled, but whatever. You can't call that in that moment. You can't do that.
All right. Wrapping up again, people are saying it in the chat. Yes, we saw the news that no Connor, no Leon for the entire week for the Oilers. Jason Gregor, first one on it. Not good. That is a relatively big blow. If you want to be glass half full about it, Dallas is a tough game regardless. You just proved you can beat Seattle. You get them on Thursday. Saturday night, home BOA. You should be able to handle the Calgary Flames. They can't score. And the Oilers just proved they can score 5 goals in a game without Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. So I'm still relatively optimistic they can go 2-1 this week. And when you want Connor and Leon back, is, again, and maybe that's part of it here, is like play it safe. April 1, that is our last shot. If we want to try win the division, that's the Oilers thinking. You get them back for
Tread
Vegas.
water up until that point.
Or even get one of them back against Vegas and the other one back that next Saturday against LA.
So we still don't know what Leon's injury is, correct? I believe it's just undisclosed. That's
Lower
what
body.
it was on Saturday.
Yeah. Anyways, Mikhail and Dry, Prime Nuge is here. Mick Dry can rest up. Cup Year drops in a super chat for our friends at the Ben Stelter Foundation. Yes, Cup Year indeed. No Connor and Leon this week. That sucks. This is what other fan bases have to deal with. Just like teams
DJ
without...
Bean and Pete are, I'm sure they're going to be crushed to hear this news. I was texting DJ on Saturday. He said every night he's saying a prayer for their health. Didn't do it enough.
Speaking of the What Chaos guys, they are going to be at Greta this Thursday. We're flying the boys in from Boston. I love that they want to come to Edmonton as bad as they do, and you have a chance to party with them at our party spot, Greta, downtown Edmonton, arcade, bar, street food, new arcade games, by the way, as well. Thursday night, buy your tickets, nationgear.ca. We're doing a meet and greet with Pete and DJ. Then we're doing a live show. We're all watching the game together, and then a live post-game show as well. It's going to be awesome. All brought to you by Fountain Tire. Your ticket in also gets you access to these game day specials, which are solid as well. So come party with us and the What Chaos boys at Greta. Also, they just tweeted they are organizing the first ever, I don't want to mess this up, IFJSJPE. Informational flash Jeff Skinner jersey purchase event. I don't know how they got to that point. I haven't watched the video. I just read the tweet. Anyways, I love
saw
those
DJ
guys.
was saying that some lucky Edmonton Oilers fan will be getting a Jeff Skinner jersey. I don't know if he meant himself or if he meant somebody else.
I don't know.
Also,
I loved watching Jeff Skinner score that goal the other day and celebrate the way he did. I want him in the playoffs so bad. I want him to score a big goal so bad. He's so damn likable.
Dude, I mean, say what you want. The guy just smiles all the time. No matter, and it's been a very, very tough year for him.
Yeah.
But he just smiles through it all. LeBron James, can't believe this is my life, smiling through it all. But this one where
what a shot.
arms go up and then he locks him down and pulls him in. He's just an easy guy to love.
He is. Game 2 of my beer league playoffs tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go. Let's go, Chiefs. We're the 1 seed. We didn't choke in game 1. Time to.
That sounded like a little bit closer than it needed to be, though.
Yeah, it was. They scored a goal that was. If we had offside reviews, we win that game 6-2. But we don't have offside reviews. But it was one of those where the puck came out and it was right in front of our bench in the second period. So everyone on our bench saw the puck go out by like a foot and a half. But it's a 2-ref system and we don't have linesmen because it's beer league. So the one ref was at the goal line and the other ref was at the other blue line because he was like backing up in case there was a rush. So like there's no way either of them could have seen it, but our goalie stopped playing because like the puck clearly went out. And then he just like stopped it and they had a guy in front of the net and it was like, can't challenge that? No? All right.
Is that Eli?
Yeah, it's Eli.
Play to the whistle, buddy.
I know, but he's at Vezina caliber year for my boy WAP. Yeah, good shit, Eli. Anyways, that's a wrap on today's edition of the show. Tomorrow, still no Liam.
Your thoughts?
Liam? Nothing? No? All right.
Oh, yeah, now they can see the
now you can see the sign. Yeah. This is Nuge's team, always was. They're going to need Nuge to keep on going the way he is if they're going to get a couple more wins later on this week. We'll talk about that and more tomorrow on the show. Devin Dubnyk. We'll see who else. Probably going to be a 2-guest day tomorrow since I don't have my boy Lehman. So, yeah, giddy up. Oilers Nation every day, noon. New episode of Real Life dropping later on today as well. So find that wherever you get your podcast from. But that's enough for me today. We'll see you all back right here tomorrow, noon Mountain Time. Oil up.